All right, it should be set there with audio. And here they come. All right, great. I hear myself. So I'll just leave the door open here and let people file in. Oof, nasty pullback in that one. So the nano nukes, right? Been a favorite of mine. I've been talking about them for weeks. Look at these. Uh, and then this big one here. This is the new administration. If you didn't see, they're going to invest 500 billion pledged to build out infrastructure for AI data centers. Everything I've been kind of talking about. So that was the whisper, in the industry for people who knew what was going on. The price action was suggesting it, and then horrible head fake here. Interestingly enough, markets can do that. But NNE took a big head fake down, and then we got those headlines. And I think it might be it. 3 days of just incredible run based on a huge headline. Again, $500 billion committed, pledged to build, U.S. infrastructure. I think Abilene, Texas, is where they're looking, and cheap energy down there. But nonetheless, the story is coming to light. The story I've been really talking about for weeks, a couple months, as to why are these nano nukes so explosive all of a sudden. And people in the know, people in the industry realized that there was a tremendous future need that could not be met with the current paradigm. So these modular nuclear reactors are just the ticket, really, to drop in as needed and help run these data centers. Again, if you missed it, the new administration just pledged $500 billion to start building this stuff out and catch up, and not catch up, but lead the way and get ahead of, because it's really the new arms race. That's not hyperbole. It's the new arms race. So it's almost like national security. So I've got NNE up here. Funny enough, as I've been talking about it, I got my neighbor into it back around, I think 17 or 18. And about 5 minutes before I came live today, I got a call from, actually 20 minutes ago, I got a text from him up here. He said, wow, NNE, what do I do? And he said, well, that depends on your time frame, whatever you want. But what I told him is what I do and what I tell everybody. And it was the perfect thing he needed to hear was, why don't you just sell half? You can't go wrong selling half after a move like that, because you're either in it or you're not. Either way, you still win. You book some profits if it pulls back. If it keeps running, you still got it. And most of all, you take the mental stress off of yourself, of the torment of what should I do? What should I do? You've got the greed demon and the fear demon grabbing your ear. By the way, I'm pretty sure people can hear me. You're welcome to chime in the chat window. As usual, anybody who was sent here for trade ideas, support, help, you have first priority. All right. Hang on, let me refresh this page, make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, good. So feel free, questions whenever you want. Let's look at the market in general. Huge reversal off this. I mean, it is what it is in hindsight. We call that a bear trap, right? Everybody was piling on the short side or selling out. But more importantly, maybe the short sellers got just licked their chops right here. and they got trapped. And this has been happening just over and over all the time in this market lately. Constant repetition of the bear trap. So it's very difficult to get negative and bearish on this market when all the liquidity, or for whatever reason, the price action just continues to move higher. But I'm kind of chuckling to myself as the timing of my neighbor giving me a call here, and I hopefully he took my advice and sold half, because trading is a tremendously mental game. Your strategy is your strategy. There's no one right strategy. You just got to figure out how to make your strategy work. And that's it. You got to figure out how to make it work. And many times you become your own worst enemy, getting in front of yourself. Like, should I sell it? Should I keep it? Oh my God, if I don't sell some here, it could go higher without me. Well, tell that to all the people in SMR that didn't take some off, when it was up here at 29, then it fell back to 27. It depends on your time frame. And that's what I told my neighbor, but I know he was in NNE, and that was quite a move. So I think he heeded my advice, and I think it's good advice. You can't get too greedy after 1, 2, 3 days of giant move, again, with a good headline, but this doesn't last forever. This has to breathe. At some point, you get the people who look at this and go, I'm not chasing this anymore. I mean, the law of averages, reversion to the mean, says I'm going to be able to buy this probably at a better price. I just need to be patient. And so the buyers dry up, and then the sellers start to panic. So again, selling half after a giant move. I know he bought it down here at 17 and selling it at 40, 43, 44. That's a pretty good move for taking half off the table. You can't really shake your head at that. Hello, Truth Seeker. I love the name. Good stuff. SPY, same story. Bear trap. People got trapped down here on the lows. And let me just see something. By the way, the people who are watching out, on X, you're welcome to come by. I can't see your replies on X, but you can come by the Trade Ideas channel, click on the live, and the live gets you the chat window. I can look at a chart. If you want to look at a chart, we can discuss scanning. We can talk about things to come. What I'm in, I haven't really done a whole lot. I'm starting to put silver miners on the shit list. I was thinking yesterday, I took some CDE home overnight. Felt like silver's just been running really nicely, a nice triangle above all the moving averages. I'll show you silver. There's the commodity silver yesterday, closing 3 days above this blue. Seemed like it was all clear. You take home risk overnight in silver market, and you can get smacked pretty good. So I had to sell my CDE on the open. I don't like that. But I've made it back in some other trades. One thing I am in, I hasten to talk about it because it's so off the charts. Every now and then you can try to play an oversold bounce, and I might be overthinking this one. Okay, yeah, let me finish my thoughts. I'll get to those calls. I might be overthinking this one, but plug power, manual electrical equipment, alternative energy, focuses on development, commercial. Sounds kind of like the nano nukes, doesn't it? Obviously, this probably can't produce the kind of power that the AI data centers need. But this is an alternative type of power. And let's see, hang on a second. That's all right. I'll get to that in a minute. So I think I talked last week about when you find something that's just been sold 3 days down, the opposite of the other ones, 3 days up. At some point, the selling is going to abate, and you're going to have a nice little oversold bounce. Kind of hoped I had seen it back here. So this is kind of underwater. A little frustrated with this trade. It's not working. 210 is what I need to get above to bounce. And if it does, good. But I'm prepared to cut this thing down here if it gets back below 2. My price is right around here, 205. I opened it up and saw this green candle on the open and just couldn't buy it fast enough. And it's just been kind of holding. And so I told Andy, I want to give this thing all day just to kind of see how it resolves, because if it's trying at all to play, second fiddle to, to SMR and those other nano nukes, it could catch a bid, but it doesn't look like it's trying to. It's going to try to frustrate me. Okay, so True Seeker, yes. Let's take a look at Mara. Okay, a lot going on over there. I saw Riot, I think, is benefiting from, I heard this $500 billion investment. They're going to use their technology. What does Mara look like? Mara looks very similar. So Riot and Mara kind of run the same. This is, I'll say this, True Seeker. I mentioned earlier that silver miners are on my shit list now, and the Bitcoin miners have been on my shit list for quite some time. And when you look at the overall picture, they just can't get out of their own way. And that's why these types of false breakouts that you're probably frustrated with right now, I got tired of them, and they just keep seeming to show up. So with that said, in that context, this whole sector is on my shit list. I just can't figure them out. I don't know if it's a problem with them not being able to make good margins. I mean, even after this investment, they're talking about, the nano nukes are on fire, but Riot and Mara are still kind of playing their old games. So with that said, that's my personal feeling. Technically, you're still okay. You see this rising 5-day moving average, tested it a couple times, tap danced on it and popped right back up. You're above the 200-day over here. The only strike against it is this is flattening 50-day moving average is such an ominous ceiling. When I see that and I see 2 wicks in the last 5 days, this thing still has problems. So that's what that chart is telling me. I'm not telling you it's bad. When would I not like it? Well, the first close below the 200-day moving average means something is starting to give up. So you're still in just kind of wait and see pattern here, but this is your immediate target, the 50-day. Why can't all trades be like SMR? I got in yesterday and out near the highs. Yeah, exactly. It's a good lesson, honestly, Bill, because you've heard me. I've been talking. This was when the news came out of the Trump admin and wrangling 500 billion to build these data centers. And this was me noticing, hey, what the hell's going on with these things? Maybe they're using them to try and build data centers. So this was the industry in the know. This was the understanding of the insiders, and then a technical break. And then all of a sudden it's front page news. Now everybody's talking about it. So that's kind of the historical footprints of the way this has come about. NNE, they're all a little different. I find the NNE head fake rather cruel because it broke like one of my rules. If a stock breaks down that badly under a 50-day moving average, I sell it. So it did it. I mean, it just Thunderdome ran all the stops and then grinded its way back and shot to highs. That was dastardly. And then Oklo is the third. Pretty nice chart there. But again, we've had just a giant move here. The short-term traders will take profits. When I look at the Oklo intraday, it's still holding on. Why do I say that? Because it's still holding that 10 SMA on the 15 chart. So can we say the same for the others? Yeah, we can. They're putting up a fight. And they also have a big short float. I don't know who was trying to short these things, but 17% on NNE was not wise. Maybe, you know what, the bear trap probably really filled them in. They probably loaded up short and then just, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, Bill, I caught a piece of that. You're never going to catch the whole thing. If you can just catch a piece of it, if you can just, people should just be happy with those types of moves. That type of move. There's nothing wrong with that. But to try and make yourself be perfect is tough. So I'm also in rum. I bought rum back. Let's see, back down here. And then I've just been kind of holding. I might have added to it a couple of days ago. It's a good looking sign right here. This is basically working off that oversold bounce we got. So that sideways action, a lot of bottoming tails. Love to see bottoming tails in an area of consolidation. And I think last time I was with you guys, I drew this anchored VWAP. People asked me about it. Kind of kicked myself this morning. You can see it shot up and almost hit that anchored VWAP I was too fast. I didn't sell any, but that purple line, I might have to sell some there if it gets back up and kisses that area, because what that is the value weighted average price based on the beginning of this move. I think that's what it is, or it's the top. I can't remember. Actually, the beginning of that move is going to be supportive. Let's draw that. So we go anchor, gap. And oh, wouldn't you know, it's right here. I'm going to leave that in there. So there's two levels. I've got the anchor gap and the anchor from the high. And we're sitting, the body of this candle is sitting just under that. So we're going to call that 1324. I guess I can't. Some of you may know these moving average, I'm sorry, these price alerts are fickle. So that's a good lesson to just kind of remind people. You can go in here and you can delete the green ones and we can start over. So I'm going to, let's see, gosh, we are right there. We'll call it 1329. I'm going to say if we take out this new high right there, I just want to know about it because you can see it's that first anchored VWAP. So it's a line that the sellers are defending. Boy, they were sure defending something on the open. Look at how volatile this was. Rip up all the way down, pierce the 5-day moving average, and then bounce and then grind. That's brutal. You know, human beings don't do that. This is a footprint, fingerprint of algorithms and Citadel. It's just the nonsense of the market open where you have flood of orders, stop orders, and these machines just try to make sense of it because they can do it at the blink of an eye faster than other machines. Anyway. Let's see, what else I got going on that's anything interesting? I'm in Kodak. All right, let's talk about Kodak. I bought Kodak as it sprung off of the 50-day moving average. I think I was a day late, so I picked it up basically here. And now I'm willing to give it sideways consolidation. I'm willing to let these moving averages catch up to it. Because the story that I'm chasing here, I think, is the story that may have come to life back here when people realize, again, the new administration is looking to reward companies that produce domestically. And Kodak literally has a lost generation. They've kind of seen off all their old retirees and they've reinvested a lot of their pension money and retirement money back into the company, and they're retooling. I think they're literally just kind of waiting for orders to say, hey, Kodak, we need domestic chlorine, we need domestic penicillin, we need domestic ivermectin, we need domestic. That's what they do. They produce things. They're a chemical company. Even though they made cameras and film, they started off as a chemical company. So as I've told you guys, my chart needs to confirm my story. And as far as I'm concerned, the daily chart here, another bit of a head fake. A lot of things got washed out. What we have is a nice break above all moving averages, and we're just in a holding pattern sideways. I expect another move out of this congestion, you know, within days. So I'm holding Kodak intraday. I'm happy to see. I talk about this all the time. This is why I use the 5-day moving average. It's a level of interest. And as long as it tests this level, what this tells me is the quants, the buyers, the funds, whoever, they're like, okay, we're a buyer here at this level again. So as long as the stock is in a nice, strong uptrend and in momentum on the daily, this level should be defended here intraday on the 15-minute candles. It's going to be just crazy if NNE goes back to highs again. But again, you've got yourself a monster catalyst with that headline. You can see my watch list here consists of the top 3, and I've got a lot of names in here, right? Quant, and AI, nobody cares about today. They're red. AI, quant, AI, Q, quant, AI, quant. But data center, energy, yeah. So that's why I mean, what am I? Hardly down anything. I'm down penny and a half in this plug. But again, I'm going to come back to this. It might look silly, but I'm trying to play an oversold bounce. Look at this level. This $2 level was obviously a major pivot, and we broke $2 this morning right on the open. Stop hunt was short and didn't really follow through, so the algos quickly reversed it. And on the open, that's kind of what I want to see after a precipitous 3-day drop. So I'm just leaning on past experience that I can let this thing do this all day long. What really matters is how it closes at the end of the day to me. But if it wants to break back down below 2, I'm out. And what do I lose? I lose 6 cents. It's not bad. Ahmad, hello. Which strategy did you use to identify those stocks, Kodak and Rum? Experience. Not so much a strategy, Ahmad, but it's basically having my watch list over here, as I just kind of showed you. We've got a bunch of different stocks in here. We've got there's the Bitcoin stocks. There's some silver stocks, media stocks. I'm on DJT, Rum. I'm in Rum as well. So I kind of, at this point in my trading, I don't rely on a window to tell me what to buy. But that doesn't mean it's not right for people learning or people who want to, do things and get ideas. My ideas kind of come to me just from experience and a watch list. I let the market open and I see where the money is going. I look for washouts like this, what might have been washed out and is now reversing back to highs that I normally follow. And I'm probably going to click most of these names, or more importantly, I see a lot of those names come through my high-low ticker. This is really, I'll be sitting here talking to you and go, oh, what's going on with CXAI? Made a new 30-minute high. Yeah, am I interested? Nah, that's kind of how it goes. Yeah, there's no substitute for experience, and I'm here to try and help shorten that amount of time. And I do so, by talking about what I like to look at, which is a 15-minute chart and a one-day chart, daily chart. And I try not to get too caught up in too many indicators at once. I try to look at the bigger picture, which is over here. What's going on in the sector? These are the solars are strongest today. Change from the open. Retail, uranium is strong. Home builders are strong. So I'm kind of I'm more looking at the market from a 40,000-foot view each day, trying to narrow in on sectors and then stocks within those sectors, and then hits a whole new game of when do I buy it? Well, I prefer to buy it on like a vicious pullback, something that opened strong and then pulled back a little bit. So I'm not buying that opening high. I'm kind of buying that first pullback in an area where people are looking to pull. I noticed SMR did it today. I'll show you where. So SMR did it today. It opened up down, ran up, and then it pulled back. Boom, right here. If I'd have been on my game, I'd have been buying something like this. So it's first identifying the sector, identifying the stock. How did it open? It opened strong, but it got a little ahead of itself, and I never have a problem buying what I think is a strong stock on a pullback and then use this 10 SMA on a 15-minute chart as my backup squad. Hoping that buyers will hold that. Most opening 15-minute candles that look like that, this is all just, quants. It's stop hunts and algorithms and high frequency trading is what I mean to say. You can't really do much and participate in that first candle, but I like to watch how that first candle resolves itself. So it showed me it was very strong, gapping down and then pulling back. So it's multifaceted. I'm looking at my favorite stocks and my favorite sectors, but I'm trying to buy contrarian. I'm not buying here. I'm not buying here. I would consider buying here, but these have had a pretty good run. But notice, the pattern is I want to buy strong stocks down here where they're building higher base camps. Pull back to, I wouldn't want to be the one buying this, but if I feel like I was left out, then oops. Being patient is probably one of the hardest things, say, boy, I'm just going to sit on my hands here. But if it does pull back to here and show some strength at this area, maybe I'll take a chance. So that's one of the most important things I think I can tell you is the entry is everything. If you have a poor entry that you chased, you're going to have very short tolerance. You're going to quickly get out because the red builds up really quickly as the stock pulls back from the people who bought it low as it was being sold into, and then flip it as it goes to highs. So a lot of times I want to be well positioned in a stock before it comes back and challenges these highs. And then as it breaks through that high, that's where I start quickly selling, because I'm trying to take advantage of the liquidity, of the people who are chasing. Don't be that person. That's probably the best advice I can give, Ahmad, to a new trader. Just be patient, identify your risk. What's the worst case possible? If you chase stocks way up here, your worst case possible is pretty bad. So speaking of another stock that got a drubbing, that's trying to hold on after 4 or 5 days, but it's a lot of sellers in there. I think it's a sell the news event. Clear. Thank you. Good. Oh, True Seeker. I didn't see that. With an oversold stock, are you looking for reversal? Yeah. So let's go to this plug. And I actually told Andy, I said, put an alert at 210. And if it takes out 210, that's probably the best trigger you're going to get. So I'll do that right now, actually. 210 plug. Right now, I'm guessing. I admit I'm a guesser, but I'm leaning on the odds that this oversold nature and this stop hunt at the open hopefully will be as bad as it gets. Now, this low here could come back and be challenged a second time, which it was challenged last 15 minutes. And if it does that, I'll watch it. If it flips back up, sometimes it has to flip that switch a couple times just to shake the trees a second or third time and see if there's any more, weak hands that are in there before the oversold bounce occurs. It will occur eventually. It's just a matter of when and how far that bounce will go. So let's assume it does break back above 10. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this guy right here. Where is the 50 SMA going to be? Well, wherever that is, that's going to be my target. I'm not looking for much. I'm not expecting this thing to go back to there because it's got to break through each one of these moving averages. I just want to get that clear airspace, that free shot back with very little selling, nothing but buying and chasing, and hopefully get a quick shot back to that. What level is that? We'll call that 232. So I would jump in front of that, 231, 230. So I'll probably look to sell this at 230 if I can get it. And that's all I want. That's all I'm looking to do. I'm not falling in love with this company. I don't think it's going to break back above 250 or 3. Now, what I could do is I could sell 75% of it, and maybe I'll do that. Sell 75% at 230. And on the off chance it does break the rules and just keep going more, well, then I'll still be benefiting a little bit. And I've got that mental ease that I was talking about earlier, where you don't beat yourself up for getting out too soon or staying in too long. But yeah, I told Andy he's probably got an alert set at 210. And if plug turns around and rips 5 cents and gives us a green candle with big volume coming in, by the way, here's a trade ideas use. Okay, the first thing I would look at is what's the 5-minute volume? What's the 1-minute volume? If those are both showing me like 300%, I'm excited, because that means short-term trade ideas is measuring short-term volume pouring in at the time I want it to pour in. When it's breaking above that clear signal this morning that 10 cents was the best you were going to get. So if it comes back and fails to go to new lows and retests these sellers again, odds are it could, break up quickly to 230. And that's all I'm looking for on this trade. All right, I see rum is trying for me. All right, well, maybe eventually by the end of the day, it'll get back to what it did. It didn't trigger my price alert though, and that price alert was meant to tell me that maybe it's making its way through that first purple AVWAP line. Again, if you're watching on X at all, you're welcome to come by and go to the Trade Ideas YouTube channel, go to live, use the chat window, and I can look at any chart you want or talk about scans. Oh, sure, go to highs now. Silver. Silver is just impossible to trade. So I see, the NASDAQ, I see a new 30-minute low and the Qs come through, and that makes me take notice. What has happened over here? Well, I think this was such a strong move that we're not going to have too much of a pullback, but we might have some slight sideways drift lower like that over the next day or two. And that would be healthy as these lines catch up and new buyers maybe start to feel emboldened again. What's the Russell doing? The small cap index. So yeah, they're being capped under the 50-day. I'll tell you what, if the market continues to move higher and you guys see the IWM put a green candle and close above this 50-day, that to me would signal, hey, it's time to start looking at small caps again, because your godfather, the Russell 2000, is pointing the way to a clear current that might be favorable for small caps once again. So again, these are all the kind of considerations that don't really come to a new trader overnight. I know today, in today's age, and by no fault of anybody's own, we would just kind of expect that we would have an app built and a technology built that would just do it for you. We get closer, but there's still always going to be a human element. Even when the money machine comes out, you guys, there's going to be a human element. We're not going to recommend that people just turn it on, drink their coffee, and head off to work and come home to a green number, because you still have to, kind of keep one eye on things. There's nothing wrong with somebody who might, create a money machine account and have a job, and then they go and they've got it on their screen at work. But, you got to kind of still babysit it in terms of, do you want to be aggressive? You want to be not too aggressive? But, the trading will be done for you automatically. And the symbols will be selected and automatically, but that's all to be coming. Yes, Truth Seeker. I love the ETFs. FMET. Metaverse. Okay. Very thin, 2,700. Is it different from Meta platforms? Oops. FMET. Sure. Metaverse. Well, it doesn't matter that it's got low volume. Point is, it's above all of its good moving averages. You are getting kind of just a horrible grind back and forth, but at least you can definitively see if it can't get back up here to 32, that likely 30 is probably going to be your range. So it's stuck in a $2 range. That's what I would say. CFD, a stock or contract for delivery. So you're talking about contract for deliveries. They're going to mirror what a stock does, just like an ETF would do, but you'll have slippage on the volume and the spreads. Okay, so the NASDAQ's getting a little weak. It's kind of doing the upside, doing a little rainbow here. But when we look back trading wise, we see that it was, this was the opening low. Basically kind of closed the gap. But like I said, in the bigger swing of things, we're just kind of messing around up here, just kind of sawtoothing back and forth. Nothing real concerning, I don't think, in terms of selling. Yeah, RGTI, Regati. This is in the quant. So remember this morning, a little bit earlier, I showed you guys my watch list here, and I commented that a lot of Q stocks are in here, a lot of quant stocks. So as a whole, they're all giving some back today. RGTI had a great open on Tuesday here. Went nowhere yesterday. Let's look intraday. Chances are it's probably going to gravitate to this 1270, 1280 level. But by the time it does, you also might have this rising 5-day moving average come and meet it as well. I would say the thing that I would be watching if I was in this is, okay, yeah, we've had a nice pop. If I'm not ready to take profits here, I have to resolve the fact that I might be giving some back, a little back and forth, but I have to be patient. And my real tell, if you're playing poker, what's the tell going to be? The tell is going to be what happens when the price meets this. What you're going to want to see is buyers step in and defend this blue line a couple hours from now. So that's what I would be looking. You made some money on it, but don't know if you should buy more. Okay, if you're thinking about buying more, take what I just said and wait to see. That's why we call it an area of interest, because your interest is, should I buy more? Well, I'm guessing right here. A lot of airspace. But if I wait for an area of interest to show up in the price level and they meet, how does it go when they meet? Does it break down? Well, there's your answer. You don't buy more. Does it pop up and close up? Well, then maybe you buy more or buy more at that line and decide what you're going to do at that line. So, that's a good qualification. Thank you for telling me that. When people tell me to look at a price chart, he's telling me he's in it, he likes it, he's thinking about buying more. Well, that helps me kind of say, well, this is what you might want to keep an eye on, and don't forget to be patient, because right here you're kind of guessing a little bit. But technically speaking, you're in the right sector. The quant sector is on fire. Sadly, the people that held overnight here had a bloodbath when something happened. I think the NVDA guy made some crappy statements overnight and the bubble was popped. But the 50-day moving average came into play, just like my 5-day over here. They're both blue for a reason. It's that big level of interest. The buyers defended this level. Consolidated, another push. So we're probably doing this same little shuffle here. Push, shuffle sideways, push, shuffle sideways. So if you're going to add to it, you might as well maximize your add and just be patient and wait and see what happens when the 5-day catches up. Apple on lows. So that's probably one of the reasons the NASDAQ's getting a little weepy. Apple's been horribly weak as of late, and the declining 5-day moving average kind of tells us that. Yeah, getting a little bit more drippy here. So same thing kind of goes for what I was just talking about there in Regati. The 5-day moving average comes into play here on the NASDAQ. NASDAQ got ahead of itself. And there's nothing wrong with it coming back to fill this gap right here. And maybe say hello to the 5-day moving average a day from now. We're still kind of far away from that. I don't want it to happen next hour. That would mean this. But if we can just kind of grind sideways, that's going to be the most constructive of all scenarios. So we're kind of in no man's land right here. I'm not interested personally in establishing new positions because everything has kind of already ran. But keeping an eye on names and things that might be interesting. Maybe that RGTI might be interesting, but got to be patient and wait for your pitch. So I'm going to tell you right now, if I was long this NNE, I do not want to stick around for much if it closes below this moving average again, because it's like a second test of this momentum line. And this momentum line is only good for so long. It's going to give way anytime. And all these people watching each other to see who's going to take profits first, trust me, it comes quick, kind of like it did here, right? But it regained strength. And if that, regaining of strength fails and rolls back over, well, then the next one could see 40 real quick. So I don't like being in things up here. If you've played musical chairs when you were a kid, it's like you're just waiting for the music to stop and you hope you have a chair to jump in quickly. That only pertains to these types of moves here. This is when musical chairs starts to set in. And trust me, there are some great trading groups and guys out there that are watching this. They're probably watching NNE right now, and they're just licking their chops. Matter of fact, they're probably watching it like on a 1 minute time frame. Oh, look at that. And they're probably just saying, I have got my finger on the short button. The minute I see a big candle that breaks this one here, I'm going to plunge in short, and maybe you can make a quick buck like within 30 seconds. So I'm going to go back to my time frame because the 1 minute time frame means nothing to me. This is where I operate. DEFTF average. Let's see. Okay, DEFTF foreign stock. Is that right? Yeah. Pink sheet E. So it's on the pinks, but it doesn't look bad. In my first glance here, you've got a major seller at 320. You can see that clearly. So if they come back up with the rising 5-day moving average behind it, that's a good sign. So you're going to get a pinch play here coming up probably. Just see how that resolves. Stay with it. If it moves higher, cut it if it resolves below the 5-day moving average. And I talk a lot about this chart, but if anybody wants it, I'm just going to share with you the trade ideas settings so you can have it. So you don't have to go figure out how to make it. Because a lot of my decisions come down to this 15-minute time frame, especially using closing candles around this 5-day moving average. And I say closing candles. You see why? Because that traded below. And I learned early on in my career, if you panic before the candle closes on 15 minutes, you're likely going to regret selling that panic sell. So it's one of the hardest things to do is sit through those. But it helped in the long run. Okay, now all these silver stocks want to go back to highs after dumping me out on the open. Yeah, thanks. I'm not going to play in that game anymore. There's just too much overnight risk. And there's too much bank manipulation. So see, again, it's as I look through my little real-time ticker here, what do I see? I see nothing but silver names. So this kind of helps me throughout the day. Somebody asked, what am I looking at? I'm not looking at a particular scan with setting. I'm looking at just a watch list. 30-minute high, 30-minute low, new high, new high, new low. And I see these names and it just kind of tickles me to remind me to bring up the chart and kind of just stay in tune with what's happening. FFTI, I just first I'm with 3,000 after that loss. FFTI, I think you're saying you're out, but you had a bad trade in it. I'm getting a chart on FFTI. Is that stock still around? To double check that symbol. So I'm just kind of keeping one eye on this leadership, these stocks that are leading the day so far. Kodak is hanging in there. Okay, oh yeah, Fifi. Okay, this is yeah, I can see how that really trapped a lot of people. I don't know if you're still in it, but it just doesn't, it still looks like it's being completely held down. As you can see, every time it does try to even get near the level of interest I've been speaking so much about, the sellers pound it. Not a good sign. And you could get a nice relief bounce, but what's happening is every time it gets up in this area, the sellers are killing it. And now on the daily chart, you've got even more moving averages coming down. There's just I don't know what the news was or what this thing did. Oh, Faraday bags. Was this like part of the drone scare? I'm just trying to figure out why it ran. Faraday bags protect you from EMPs. So it looks like a story that was hyped and then is over. And the way it's just slowly dying day by day is not a good look. I'll tell you that. Electric cars, huh? Yeah, okay. So there's no subsidies around for electric cars either. There's just bad headlines and bad technical action on that one. I would just stay far away from that. And I'm sorry you lost on that. I think it's important to, like, remind yourself that you can't get married to a story. You've got to let the chart tell you, is the story for real or not? And that comes in different areas for all, but, down in here probably would have been a good early warning. And then here would have been a good confirmation. It's kind of done. Can't get back above there. On the chart you shared, it uses SMA. You can change them to EMA. I don't like I like SMA. I don't really think there's much of a difference. I actually saw a great post from Brian Shannon who taught me that 130 SMA, and he looked back and he did some sort of analysis with a 130 EMA and a 130 SMA, and he said definitively his eyeball married up to the SMA much better. And that's kind of what I say. It's just my eyeball has always seemed to gravitate towards the SMA. And I don't really understand the concept of giving the most frequent and the most recent candle more weighting. I don't understand that. It's always seemed like more of a gimmick to me. And when you line up like an 8 EMA and a 10 SMA, they're pretty darn close, or a 9 EMA. And when you see some traders like Ripster and other good traders and our trade wave clouds, we're using a cloud. And a cloud basically says there's no definitive line that you hit and trigger and throw a switch. It's an area. It's a gray area. And the more those moving averages diverge, the wider that cloud gets. But the cloud kind of reminds us that moving averages are not a black and white switch. There's gray area, or whatever area you want to shade it, pink or blue. I see my plug is still not threatening me in any way. This is really the only trade I'm kind of keeping one eye on. The others I kind of, I'm not interested in selling, I should say. Like I said, Kodak, I think, is just going to go sideways for a while. So I'm not worried about that on the daily. Rum, it's on the move. They've been having some headlines, and it's fighting. It's got its VWAPs that it wants to fight here, so I'm going to wait and see what those do. But plug is really the only one I'm just kind of watching. I need to see this thing close stronger. Let's see. Can you give me some advice? Quite new, but still on the CFD at the moment. I would just say, again, try to be contrarian. Try to buy when they're selling. Like if you can find a strong stock that's pulling back hard to that, that 5-day moving average I told you about right there. Right? If you see Rigotti, it's looking like it's a strong stock, but up here it's, if it does a big quick drawdown, then if you can set price alerts, use trade ideas to set your price alerts so it splashes in front of you and says, hey, big move here to a level you wanted to be interested at. Do you want to trade it? And if it's a pull down to a strong, to a level of interest, you're going to give yourself much better holding time. I started to say earlier, the better the entry, the better the staying power. So if you give yourself contrarian entries, it might take a minute or two, but boom, all of a sudden you're in the money. Now you're feeling good, and it's a great way to start the trade versus being somebody who chased this green candle back here 3 days ago, and you really got nothing to show for it. You just had a lot of wasted effort back and forth. So try to make your entries at levels of interest. Never, ever, ever chase an entry after a big green bar because you feel like you're missing out. You're going to find out real quick the only thing you're missing out on is a quick reversal. Again, the indicators I'm using, the simple moving averages and a couple of anchored VWAPs, I think that's all that works. That's all I need. I think a lot of algorithms and quants use those levels in their programming, so they kind of show up sometimes. It's like they have to go hit it. They have to cross it, and then it reverses. Did I discuss DWTX? No, but I will take a look. DWTX. Okay, there's not much to discuss here. This is a crazy, obviously, therapeutics play. I will tell you this. If you were just asking me, Ms. Advice for a new trader, don't buy there. Do not buy here. But the stock should be on your radar all day long. If you're watching, and you see this, that is where you buy. This is what I've been trying to talk about all day long. I feel the safest when a stock that is strong consolidates sideways into my area of interest. And wow, nobody expected that. I never expect that. It's up 700%. Those are crazy. Probably the worst thing you could do, it's halted right now. The worst thing you could do is come in and buy something up 700%. This play is over. It's done. I would take it off my screen. All right, guys, I got to leave in 3 minutes. So I got time for one more question. If somebody was waiting to ask a question, this is your moment. This video will stay up. It'll go live. You can go back and revisit everything I said. Still no resolution on these nano nuke stocks on this 10 SMA. They're just kind of hugging it now, like holding onto a tree branch. I don't trust them after 3 big move days. I think I'll be very surprised if these 3 NNE, OCLO, and SMR, I'll be very surprised if they take off and shoot to new highs. Market is quite slow. Yeah, it is. The general indexes are kind of slow. They gap up and then they pull back and they fill the gap and then they grind higher. Yeah, I agree, Ahmad. The market, they feel slow, except for a couple of big days. They just kind of gap up or gap, sideways, and it makes it kind of difficult. All right, guys, silver's trying to go to highs, but I have put silver on the shit list, so I'm not interested. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to have to sign off now. I got a couple of meetings to attend, but like I said, the video will stay up even after I stop the live. You can go back and watch it for anybody who wanted to do that. And thanks, for the few hundred people that dropped by from X. They're not showing up in here, but I see you guys, so appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys next time I take over. Andy is coming live tomorrow. You'll see him tomorrow, Abinish. No, he'll be in tomorrow. Right now, it's mostly me, Andy, Chris, and Dan comes in on Wednesdays, the CEO. You guys can listen to Dan. All right, I'm going to take off. Got to run. I'll see you next time. Bye.